Hey guys, it's Chris McNulty again from Hertz Audio Video. On today's workshop, we're going to go through the setup and utilization of our S8 DSP using our Windows interface. This is going to give you the ability to really make the motorcycle audio shine. Adding DSP to a motorcycle has been a discussion that's been had for years and years. In a car, it's very important. You're sitting in a weird location. You have a lot of reflections. You've got issues that you need to overcome. In a motorcycle, you're sitting between the two speakers, front and rear. You're equidistant. Everything sort of makes sense. But on a motorcycle, you're in an environment that is totally different. It's loud. It's obnoxious. It's high energy. We need to overcome a lot of the physical issues that happen as you're riding your bike. At 30 miles an hour, it sounds one way. At 90 miles an hour, it's totally different. A DSP gives us the ability to get in there and make it sound good, regardless of how you plan on riding your bike. The S8 DSP is an accessory to our plug and play kits, giving you an additional level of performance, but it's super easy to install. DSP comes between the plug and play T-harness and the amplifier. You unplug the RCAs from the amp, plug them into the S8, and then plug the S8 outputs into the amplifier. Very simple, very straightforward. Fits in the motorcycle without a problem. Super, super small, and it's designed to handle the moisture and the humidity and the vibrations. Again, this is a piece that was specifically built for the harsh environments and giving us the capability of doing more on a motorcycle than just adding better speakers and a better amplifier to the setup. All right, let's take a quick look at the software. We'll go through the S8 DSP on a Windows PC. We've got a bunch of different options that we can start with. Motorcycle, which is what we're going to do, left-hand drive, right-hand drive, free placement for slingshots or boats or side-by-sides, golf carts. I'm actually doing an installation this weekend for a client's boathouse. So you can do it pretty much anywhere. But let's start on motorcycle, and then we'll click next, and then we'll get into the wizard. What we're looking at is the main screen of the S8 DSP software on a Windows PC. It's going to look very similar on Mac or on iOS, but we'll just run through the PC right now. What you see on the left and the right of the motorcycle itself are the speaker configurations. This is going to be a mid-range and tweeter. It may be a coaxial, it may be a component set, but it's going to play full range. You'll notice that the speakers in the back are only mid-ranges. So what we'll do, we'll go through the IO wizard. We'll click on settings and then drop down to the wizard. And again, this is pretty much point and click. So we click start here. We tell it it's a motorcycle. We'll start the configuration. We want to know that we have a coaxial speaker up front. So at that point, we're running a speaker that's playing from the top end of the subwoofer all the way up to the high. We're not running anything in the rear, and we'll run a coaxial in the back. The rear speaker is going to be oval or round, even though it's a 6x9. We just don't have the 6x9 graphic. But essentially, we're running the SX165 Neos in the front, the SX690 Neos in the back. And we click next. We verify that we've got the speakers where we want them. We'll click next again. We'll verify the channel output. 1 and 2 are going to be front, left, and right. 3 and 4 are going to be rear, left, and right. If you are more inclined to have the rear speakers be the ones that you see first, you can change the numbering configuration. Entirely up to you. It's fully customizable. And we had the ability to do up to 8 speaker outputs, RCA outputs. So if you wanted to do a more complicated system, the flexibility in the S8 is definitely there. So we'll click on next. Now we're going to tell it how the signal is coming in. So we're going to go high level. We're going to click next there because it's coming straight out of the Harley radio through the wiring harness. And what you'll notice is that the input-output routing is showing that input 1, which is going to be the front left, is driving both the front and the rear outputs. So what we want to do is, if we can utilize the Techno Research module, which you guys should have access to. It's a programming module that will allow you to change the equalization curve of the Harley radio. Harley has a number of them built in. What that does for us is it gives us a more consistent starting point. What we traditionally do is the 2 amp 6 speaker flash from Harley, and that will give us the ability to do fader control. So what we'll do is we'll change it to custom. We will have channel 3 input drive the left saddlebag, and channel 4 drive the right saddlebag. So now not only do we have left and right fader control, we have front and rear balance control. We'll click next there. This gives us the ability to set the input sensitivity automatically by playing a pink noise track through the factory radio. We'll go ahead and skip it since I'm not hooked up to a radio. And at this point, our configuration is done. So you can tell we've got the 6.5-inch components up front. We've got, these are the 6x9s in the back. What I'm going to do here, because these speakers are designed to play extremely loud, we have crossover frequencies that we want to have a little bit higher. So on the front speakers, we're going to change that from 80 Hertz to 160 Hertz. Pretty straightforward. And now we've got gobs and gobs of tunability and adjustability that we can go through on each individual speaker on the bike, one at a time, and make this system sound exactly the way that you need it to. Once you've got the vehicle set up and the speakers assigned and aligned, you'll notice that you've got volume control on the right-hand side. This is the main volume of the S8 DSP output going into the amplifier. It can be controlled in the computer or also by an app on your phone, which gives you full and total control. If you added a subwoofer to the system, you have that output as well. But at this point, what you really want to do is fine-tune the system. And there really isn't a good way to do it without having some measurement devices. You will have to have an RTA of some sort. A handheld RTA is fine. Even an RTA that's built into your phone is going to be functional to really see the sound, to be able to understand what changes need to be made. One of the really neat things about this DSP is as I click on this front left speaker, I've got 15 bands of equalization at the bottom that will control this front left speaker. The red line here is indicating the frequency output going to the amplifier. So as I make a change, you can see that there's a change in the frequency output of that particular speaker. In a motorcycle application, I normally have this EQ left-right link to the left-hand side. Let me cancel that. Don't ask this session. I normally have the left-right link enabled, because whatever we're doing to the left, we're probably going to want to do to the right because they are symmetrical. But what this does is it gives us the ability to look at frequency response of the system, make an adjustment based on what we see. Say we see a dip at 630 Hertz on the front speakers, we can then increase that frequency. But what we can also do, and this is where the real power comes in on this particular DSP. If I right-click that little knob, fine-tuning comes up. I've got a secondary window that populates that I can fine-tune the frequency. You can see the frequency moving left and right. I have the ability to do boost and cut as I did before, but I also have the ability to adjust the Q. And what the Q is how tight or how narrow I'm affecting the overall tuning at that one particular frequency. So a very low Q gives us a very, very wide bump centered in at that 700 Hertz frequency. I can go next to it at 1K, do the same thing, turn on fine tuning, and do a very, very tight high Q and do a boost. And you'll see it's only going to affect that one little frequency in the midst. So with the utilization of an RTA to be able to see the sound, you can actually measure the output acoustically and then make your adjustments within the DSP for the front speakers. And as I click on the rear, you'll notice the rear has not been changed. They're independent controls. So the front speakers will be able to be adjusted. The rear speakers will be able to be adjusted. So you're in a perfect center between all of the speakers in the system. For any of y'all that have ever tuned with a DSP, you know that there's always a target, a curve that you're attempting to match as well as possible. One thing to realize in a motorcycle environment, the curves that you're used to are different. So what this does is it gives you the ability to personalize the system. You can have a very specific curve to the way that your bikes sound. And if that becomes something that people are looking for, you've got that secret sauce, you've got that recipe. So it's important to understand that you need to put together a curve, a roadmap to where the frequencies need to land to be able to consistently offer a solution that's going to keep people smiling as they're driving down the road. So understanding that there's a difference between what works in a small confined environment like an automobile, or what works in a concert hall, or what works on a motorcycle, and dialing in something that's every single time is going to give you the ability to create that level of consistency, and that level of performance that your customers are looking for. The other really cool thing about this is if you do the plug and play kit, if you do the 165 Neo, if you do the 690 Neo and the 4.900 and the S8 DSP on the same bike over and over again, all of the intricacies, all of the little details, all of the fine tuning that you did the first time can be saved and then uploaded into that next system. This gives you the ability, without having to do all of the work and spend all of the time, to get that same output every single time. So crafting a target curve is something that you'll have to do yourself to figure out what sounds the best to you and your customers. But once you've identified that curve, that becomes your goal when you're tuning, regardless of the system on a motorcycle. Hey guys, it's Chris McNulty again from Hertz Audio. I wanted to thank you very much for watching this workshop with me today, going over the advantages of DSP on a motorcycle. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit the website, hertz-audio.com. There's plenty of information there that should answer all of your questions. And until the next time, we'll see you later.